Hi, my name is Barbara Condron, and I've been studying dreams all my life, and we'll get into that in just a second. This is part 2 of Dream Sync for the Rise and Thrive retreat. It's happening right now when we are in the middle of facing what we're calling a pandemic. We're facing a reality that's been with humanity and with everything that's been living. Some reports say all the way back to the dinosaurs. In other words, we've been living with viruses for a long, long time. What's interesting about this particular time in our reality and our shared living together as a human race, and it is bringing us together as a human race, and that's a good thing, I think. When I think about what's happening with the virus coming to prominence the way it is, and all the things it stirred up, it's actually open dialogue. And it's also opened us to our inner self, primarily because we've been asked to stay at home. And that's created a different kind of world for us. We're not engaging in the ways that we did previously. So it's changed everything. So what we're waking up to is change. Change is actually the nature of the physical existence. And we don't really understand that as human beings. That's one of our big challenges. It's why we fall in love to rise with compassion, as we say at Master Living. And as we begin to understand the nature of life, the nature that there really is an eternal life, an infinite life that's continuing, that was going on before you were here, it's going to go on after you're gone. And it's not just that you're here and gone, it's that you have come here for a specific purpose. There is, in many tribal cultures, they talk about, and it was said earlier by one of the presenters, that we have a song to sing. We came here to create a melody and to sing a song. And it's up to each one of us to discover what that is. You are the only one who can do that. No one else can. So when I talk about dreams, it's almost a given that you're the final authority on your dream. It came from you, it came through you, it came for you. You are the only one who can determine in the last analysis what that dream means to you right now. What I can share with you is the benefit of some, quite a bit of past information. So let's get into that I'll share my screen and we can look at a few slides that may help us here for a little while. I am Barbara Condron, and I have written actually about 24 books. One of them is Kundalini Rising. One of them is Dreamer's Dictionary. Some of my other credentials, if you will. I am a dream journalist and a meditator since 1975. I have been teaching people how to interpret their own dreams since then. I have worked with and developed the Dream Consciousness Circuit method for interpreting dreams. I also am the founder of dreamschool.org, which I founded in 1997. And I have also piloted global lucid dreaming experiments for 10 years, from 2007 to 2018, so it's 11 years. And now I am the architect at masterliving.org and integrating all of this into something I call Dream Sync. This quote I love by Rumi: there are so many wonderful things that have been said about dreams through time and space by so many different people, different walks of life. When I think of how dreams have changed our lives, and you can Google this really quickly, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on that part because you can Google it. I'd rather go deeper with you in this particular class, and that's what I do with all my students and clients, is I go deeper with them into what the dreams are really saying, and we curate them into what I call the healing presence. Rumi, who was a Middle Eastern Sufi master that you may or may not know. If you don't, then you do now. And I love Rumi. One of the things he said was, this universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you already are. That's such a thrilling concept. And so many people don't even, they can't believe it. They want to push it away and go, that's not true. It has been my experience with interpreting literally 25,000 dreams in my life. I have seen, heard, read, interpreted 25,000 dreams from people all over the world, from almost 36 countries. And so I've had occasion to see what our similarities are, as well as our differences. And that's a great deal of what I've curated in my teaching, in what I'm now able to give, that I couldn't give even 10 years ago. I just didn't have it yet. And it's thrilling to me to think that I can pass on to other people that information, and aid them to make it more than that. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Lucid dreaming is very important. There are 5 W's that are taught to every journalist. And you're hearing them a lot nowadays because they are a way that it orders the brain. It orders the conscious mind's thinking to think in terms of who, what, when, where, why. And in DreamSync, we add a 6th one that we'll get to in a little bit here. Those 5 W's are a key to moving you in a holistic manner. So lucid dreaming is the ability for clear sight, clairvoyance, if you will, but it's clear seeing. It's being able to see without any filter, to see very clearly. When I've taught people about healing and how to perceive the health aura of someone else, one of the first things that I always tell them, and I have to remind them of this as we keep studying together, is that you're looking through your own. You are looking through your own aura first to be able to perceive someone else. Even though it's an inward function, you're still dealing with your own stuff. So your state is imperative. Your cognition, your awakefulness, your precision with knowing where you are before you ever observe someone else and report on them is essential. And this is true in everything. What is this not true in? Think of it the last time that you were with a child, perhaps your own child because you're living with them right now, and you jumped to conclusions. You were busy thinking in the brain, doing your computer work with the brain, and failed to make that soul-to-soul connection. Not just a heart-to-heart connection, a soul-to-soul. The soul is the whole self. We have the bodies and the brain. We have the heart, which gives us meaning and love and emotion and connection and those kind of things. We have the hara, which is the essence of, it's the womb of creation. It's life itself. I always think of Zorba the Greek when I think of the hara. We have this energy flow that is meant to work together. All of that is what I call soul. So it's a word that we maybe can agree to use for a short period of time in terms of the whole self. Dreams work with the whole self. That's one of its imperatives in being able to become familiar with the language that the dreams are using. My study all these years has been in consciousness. And what I've learned through that is that the language that the mind speaks, the mind is your individualized consciousness. So in order to really understand yourself, particularly mindset, everybody's talking about mindset nowadays. That's great. And it's good to set your mind. When you set your mind and you don't know what your mind is, then you're missing something. I know that when I used to set my mind to something, or sometimes my parents would say, set your head to something, they thought I was very stubborn because I had blinders on then. It was the only thing I could see, was what was right in front of me that I wanted. That was the only thing I could see. That's using the brain to focus the mind. When you explore your dreams and turn in, then all of that opens up and you have omniscient perception. 360 degrees around, you can see, because the seeing is not physical. The seeing is internal, and it's the whole self. So let's delve into this for a little bit. There is a master clock that ensures that you are healthy. That master clock is keyed to the earth, and keyed to the rhythms in the universe, particularly between the sun, moon, and earth, and the influences that are radiant. The master clock is set on a 24-hour cycle. It's called a circadian rhythm. And our modern living has taken us out of sync with that. What we're on is a journey to recalculate and cause a quantum leap in our awareness of how we flow. I teach this in regards to biorhythms, and that there is a particular moment that you entered the universe that is totally unique to you. You are the only one to occupy the time and space in that moment, even though anyone's graph or chart of biorhythms will look the same, because we're experiencing in the same environment, the same universe. So part of the work that I do with people is how to sleep on it. How to know the difference between when you're asleep and when you're awake, which is very important because sometimes now people don't know. And how to move through these cycles, these stages, and be able to glean the most from them. Right now, during this time of staying at home, many people are becoming more familiar with these stages. And as they begin to get the knowledge to put together with their experiences, they're going to blossom in understanding, and real change is going to happen in their lives. So I'm very excited about that part. There are three things that happen in sleep. One is that we restore, and this is very important to our health and well-being. This is where sleeping on it is the best thing you can do when you're sick, when you have any kind of illness. And a lot of us are doing that right now because the virus is kind of everywhere. And so whether you're immune to it, in which case you have no problem, or whether you are acquiring immunity, your body is working with it, fighting it, as we would say, but it's working with it. It's learning how to build strength, how to build immunity. And dreams help you do that because it brings, I'm in unity. You bring unity into your whole self. That's amazing. That's a power that you have that will dispel all doubt and fear. When you start taking action and move forward toward using the mind that you have, toward investigating what that mind is, that it has layers and levels and dimensions to it that can be understood. They can be taught and they can be learned. It's not just a thing of you either have it or you were born with it or you don't get it. No, that's not true. How many skills and abilities have you learned through your lifetime? Probably a lot. Next point, restore is the first thing that your first part of sleep does. It really does the healing work. So sometimes that healing work extends because you need it. Rejuvenate is your next point. And this is mental, where it's actually separating out your short-term memories and your long-term memories. So it's really sifting through your day, the day that you just had, so that you can have the subconscious inner mind curate a dream for you that's going to help you redesign your life. This is why nighttime dreaming is so important, because right now everybody's really excited about daydreaming. They're very excited about daydreaming. And the night dreams were going away. So in this way, I think that the virus and what we're doing with it, how we're reacting to it, is a good thing, because it's helping us to spend some time alone. And some people are having difficulty with that. And dreaming and dream work can help you get the skills, dial in the skills that you need so that you can be your own therapist, so that you can be your own coach, so that you can be your own teacher, so that you can be self-reliant. This does not mean that we don't need each other. What this means is we enter into a whole new world, and it's going to require this from us. We're going to have to boot up here. It's going to be essential. We're going to need to be our best selves and not in pieces and being codependent and needy and those kinds of things. Those are going to fall away. They're going to be something of the past. And one of the things that's going to help it the most is knowing about this sleep period and what it really is, and understanding the necessity for dreaming. night dreaming, and learning and listening to the night dreams so that they can actually inform and create and carve your day. Without the night dreams, there's no soul pinning. Without the night dream connection, there is no connection with source in you. You're just looking out here and going, I want that. I want that. Oh, I wish I was that way. Oh, I will learn that. All of that's wonderful. It's stunning. But all of that creates more angst, more doubt, more fear, more jealousy, more greed, more sloth, more anger than anything else that we could possibly create. Because when we fail, when we think we can't do it, we have to fall in love so we can rise with compassion. So the answer on that level is always love. Absolutely. Loving the self in here as well as in all of creation. You know, that's something as simple as stopping when you see a flower and bending down to smell it and just look at it, relish it, because it's part of creation. To breathe deeply. And to feel that air going into your lungs, and then the carbon dioxide coming out to feed all the plants. We are interconnected, and to be in nature, to know your true nature, to set your master clock aright every night when you go to sleep is an important part of your vitality and your longevity. Carl Jung, a man that I greatly respect because I feel like in some ways I stand on his shoulders. So I always try to acknowledge him. He said many wonderful things because he spent his life working with dreams just like I have. And you learn a whole lot. You learn a whole lot. The more people that you work with, you just, it's fascinating, fascinating study. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that's kind of what I was speaking to there for a moment, where we get into all the vices. They're called vices. And the curation of master living is actually the union of love and compassion, and what it takes in emotional doorways to move from vices to things that we don't want. All those things that, you know, every religion throughout the world has taught that there's certain things that it's not a good idea to do these things because it's not good human conduct. It's not treating each other well. You know, these are things your mom would say, right? But it's true throughout all of humanity. And there needs to be a way that we can move this. And it does seem to be that we want to practice now. We don't want to just talk about things. We want to actually live them. So in living them, we can actually dive in to a deeper understanding of love and compassion. So the dream work that I do is built upon that. It's built upon you being able to curate your own magnificence, your own sense of generosity, your own sense of truth, your own sense of wisdom. All of those are very important. So that's part of becoming conscious and becoming a lucid, conscious dreamer in the day and in the night, connecting the two. That's dream sync. There's a step-by-step process for that. There are many life changes, and that's what we're all going through right now. Every one of us on the planet is going through changes, and we know it. We may not know what the changes are. We may not know what to do about them. However, that's what's happening. And that's one of the reasons why there has been a 35% increase in dreaming that has been noted by researchers in Lyon, France, at the Neuroscience Center. This was reported in National Geographic just this last month. There are many researches that have been going on all through the last 20 years, and there are more now with neuroscience, which is very exciting in terms of us understanding daydreams and night dreams and the relationship between the two, the emotion that is the glue between the two. So we're not separate. It's kind of like, it's funny because sometimes I will watch people and I love them. They're so endearing to me because they'll be talking and then they'll go, and I got emotional. It's kind of like, It's like catching something. It's kind of like catching a virus, you know, and you get emotional. And it's like, no, no. When you begin to work in the mind, when you begin to truly understand the mind, then you begin to understand that there's an inner self, a subconscious mind, and a conscious mind, and the two are linked through emotion. That emotion is actually the spark that makes you alive. We can do more than survive. We can do more than just react and make sure that we're safe and make sure that we survive. We can do more than thrive, which is to imagine the unlimited possibilities and to love creating. We can actually thrive because we know how to do all of them. That's what dream work gives us. It's an incredible internal power that we have. So we bridge these gaps. They look like this. We have collective consciousness, which has up until now been unconscious, still largely is, but we have this window right now, particularly with the pandemic consciousness, to become collectively awake. And for many people, it's a daymare because they're dealing with things that they never had before. They're homeschooling their kids. They're finding that they have elderly people in their household and they wake up and they've passed. They are not working the same way that they did. They don't know what's going to happen with their small business. There are all kinds of changes that we're being asked to face for the first time. That's exciting. The one thing that's permanent is change. The nature of the physical world is change. Look at the seasons. They're always changing. So seasons is the change. It's the converter. It's the movement. Know what season you're in. This is part of what dreaming will give you. There's also then individual consciousness, which is you and I individually, that we are conscious about to whatever degree we're willing to be, right? So as we begin to move, we create gaps because we are here to learn. The world is a schoolroom, and that is why we're here. So we're moving from what's unconscious to what's conscious. And we do that in a number of ways. We can do it in our daytime when we meet somebody else that's new and they have a talent that we didn't know that was even possible. There's a lot of this available on the YouTube now because that just shows everything, the full spectrum of what humanity can do, right? Like people bending their arms in certain ways. Some postures that Adria did the other day in the retreat were like amazing to me. I want to develop that. I greatly respect and appreciate the effort that takes. Just like I appreciate the effort it takes to know how to interpret your child's dream. Moving from the unconscious to the conscious is what living is about. Becoming more awake and aware of who you are and why you're here. We do that in what I call a spiral. And so it starts with information. Most information we're totally unconscious about. I did a fun thing, and this was a long time ago. This was like over 10 years ago. I was writing a book and I thought, I'm going to Google God and see how many choices I have. And so I did. And there were millions. And I did it not long ago, and there's like a billion now. So there's lots of information out there, and that's just one thing. Then I calculated also, if I spent 1 minute on each one of the sites with the some million amount that was there, I would have to live 700 and some odd years just to do that, just to be there for 1 minute. That's information overwhelm. Don't get caught up in information overwhelm because the machines are built to do that. You're not. That's not why you're here. You're here actually to cultivate and curate the intuitive self. Einstein even said that. That's the sacred gift. And what we have done is we denied it. We have minimalized that sacred gift for the rational mind. Don't fall into that with technology because it's very easy to do that. So one of the things you want to do to sleep better and to dream better is to make sure your technology is outside of your living space. It's in a different room. Do not work in bed. Do not bring the devices in your bedroom. Even your phone. Leave on a charger in another room. Give yourself that full rest of complete darkness, no beeps, no lights, none of that. Not in your auric field. This will aid you in sleep, recovery, healing, dreaming, all of them. So that's a short hint. In the spiral, we move from information, which is everywhere, and we say, I want that. We Google something and go, I want that one. And so then when we go and we read or we purchase or whatever we're going to do, whatever our purpose was, is fulfilled. At that point, it became knowledge that we want to do something with it. So that's the first rung. The next one is that then we want experience. And who doesn't, bucket lists are very, very common now, right? That's in the popular think. And so we have a list of things that we want to accomplish, we want to do, we want to experience before we die. Experience is infinite. Most of us have a list that's way too big. We'll never be able to do it. We don't have enough time. So we want to delve into what we want to do. And there's two things that go on here. And I think it's the fact that I've been an intuitive reporter for over 40 years and have given reports for people all over the world. And those reports open up the inner mind. So it opens up multiple dimensions of consciousness. It works with time warp, with the past and the present and the future. It gives you a sight that way. And you can access this through dreams. I see dreams as being nightly intuitive reports when you remember them and when you know how to respond to them and integrate them into your consciousness, which is what Dream Sync is. It's what I teach. Part of understanding an experience is understanding that this is not the first time that you've had experiences, that infinite part of you, that soul part of you, has been here a long time, has been around for a long time. And so you can draw on those understandings. I used to wonder why my mother could play the piano by ear and I couldn't. I admired her talent greatly and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why I didn't inherit that, because I was thinking in the way that I was being trained or taught in school, that you get all that stuff from your mom and dad. Well, you do get the starter kit of the body, true, and you work with that, and that's in-depth work. You bring with you who you really are. You bring with you your soul. And so there are many parts of you, many gifts for the present incarnation, things that you know how to do automatically, that nobody had to teach you, that you know from your soul. So as you begin to develop dream work and dream yoga, you begin to curate that more and more. You begin to bring it out, and it becomes part of your everyday thinking. So that's one way to understand, to recognize understanding. Another one is to actually build them, to set goals and purposes and make the action so that you build a skill or ability, like I needed to do with playing the piano. I had to do the long route. I had to do the experience route. There's also learning through observation, and that's kind of a freedom. It multiplies, 10x's your learning. It truly does. Then the next round up is wisdom. Ancient wisdom. It's everywhere. It's in the trees. They know when to shed their leaves. They know when to grow new ones. It's in so many wonderful works. In art. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And there's so much of it, right? So when we actually make wisdom be a part of us, when we claim it, and the best way that I know to build wisdom is to share from my wealth, to be generous, to share from what I know, to aid another's life to be better, to aid them to grow, to invest in other people. I think that's the highest investment. After you invest in yourself first, so that you know what you have to give other people, then generosity is everything. It's everything. And that transfigures you. It changes you. You're not the same person. You're entirely different. Entirely different. So what does this look like with dreams? In Dream Sync Part 1, I said that there are 3 principles. The first one is every dream is about the dreamer. That means that everyone in your dream is you. So when you dream about people, you're dreaming about what we call aspects of yourself. An aspect is, you can describe it as a quality. So for instance, if you have your sister in your dream, then I would ask you to describe her to me in 3 words. And what I would be looking for is qualities. She's sharp. She's temperamental. She's a go-getter. She's calm. I'm giving you more than 3, but you're getting the idea, right? She's persistent. She's compassionate. In other words, how you see her is why your subconscious mind chose to have her star in your dream last night. Because she symbolizes a lot of things to you, and your subconscious mind knows what those are. Your subconscious mind is like your best friend. Your subconscious mind knows you better than anybody ever will. It's your inner self. That's why marriage in a dream represents the union inside you between your waking conscious self and your inner subconscious intuitive dreaming self. So we want to curate what will cause those two to work together, because together, I call them creative mind. And we did 20 years of research in creative mind to understand not only the dimensions of the mind, but also the energy transformers, the chakras that make the mind dimensions work together. And the way that you learn the most about those is through dream work. Dream work always tells you exactly where you are. So with people, now we're getting into symbology. Realize that when I talk to you about dreams, when I'm teaching about dreams, I'm teaching a language. This is mind linguistics. It's a language that humanity has built centuries. You may be familiar somewhat with it as an archetype. Jung did quite a bit of ground paving with archetypes. And Joseph Campbell actually built upon that. Joseph Campbell was a mythologist. And he actually was the person who George Lucas talked to aid him in creating the story of Star Wars. So that gives you kind of a little pin over here that you can follow. You can follow that tracer if you want to. The people in your dreams are going to be talking about you. There are 3 distinct divisions in the mind that we can recognize that might be helpful, that I'll introduce you to. The first is the conscious waking existence. It's the part that's here in the physical, works with the body and the brain. It's the part right now that's talking. And because I'm in sync, you're getting my mind as well. And because I'm in sync between those two, you're also getting my superconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the partner to the conscious mind. It's the part of your mind that is intuitive. It's the part of your mind that holds understandings, that holds what you build in your day and carries it forward. So you don't need to have to learn every time you wake up how to walk again. You don't have to learn how to brush your teeth. You don't have to learn all over again how to cook certain things that you've cooked many times and you're a whiz at it. That's become an understanding. It's part of your being now. And it doesn't happen through magic. It happens through a sequence of events in thought and action. So as we begin to honor the sequence of events in thought and action, we begin to understand ourselves and other people to a much deeper degree. The third division of mind is the superconscious mind. This is the part that holds the plan. The plan, the master strategy, if you will, the GPS system is what I call it, of your existence. So we're constantly wanting to key what's happening in the outer mind between conscious and subconscious minds to help it resonate with that master plan so that all the self is unified. It's all one. That's dream yoga. And we want to do that whether we're in a state of meditation or whether we're in a state of sleep. In other words, we want to extend that awareness, and we can. And when we have good teachers who have walked the walk, talk the talk, who know what they're doing to guide, and we have other people that we can interact with constantly, we all grow. We all grow. I am constantly learning every day. I learn from people who know things that I don't know. I'm learning from people who know much more than I know. And I'm also learning from people who ask me what I know. That's the beauty of the structure, is it's all of it. So it is about owning what you know. And as we started out, booting up with that, bringing that on, giving that, being generous, doing your part. There's a document called the Universal Peace Covenant that I was a part of assimilating. And there's a line in it that says, peace is achieved by those who fulfill their part of a greater plan. That very much describes how I look at life. It is an attitude of knowing that I have existed before, I will exist later, knowing that there are 7 generations coming down, that there have been 7 that came ahead of me, that I'm standing on their shoulders, and that there will be others who will stand on mine. And that is the way that humanity does this wonderful spiral movement. It is a most exciting time right now. So that's about people, and we can go deeper into that, and we do in the classwork and in the intensives that I do and the online retreats that I do. We really dig deep in looking at taking experiences, the experience of a dream, and understanding it. So let's go into this. The second principle, every dream tells a story. Every dream has a theme, characters, a plot. It has a setting, a time and place. It has a point of view. And when you learn, this is what much of my masterclass in Dream Time that I'm hoping to launch in the summer teaches step by step, is how to take the elements of story that we tell in the everyday life, to understand them, and then to convert them, to transpose them into a way to look at your night dreams that then supports deeper understanding of you. It's so simple that you can teach a child to do it. It's so deep that a sage will learn something every single day by practicing it. And the dreams will reflect that. So every dream tells a story. That's number 2. And the last one, every dream reconnects you with soul, with the source of your being, that GPS system. It resonates you with that. It helps you to fill in dream sync here, which transfigures who you are. You're different. You're not the same person. You've changed. We used to have a joke in the school that I was a part of and that I was taught and did all my work, school of metaphysics, during my adult years. And we had a joke that one of the worst insults that you could give to a metaphysician was to say, when you haven't seen them for a while, is to say, oh, you haven't changed a bit. That's a different way of looking at change than you might have, or that the people you are around or love might have. So you might kind of think about that actually changing is why we're here. Shape shifting, alchemy, it's talked about in every culture, but it's been secret. And what's happening now is it's out in the open more than it ever has been. This is a wonderful time to be alive. It's challenging, it's kind of scary, yes, but it's a wonderful time to be alive. Congratulations, I'm glad you're here with me. Dream Sync has been through cultures called the Bardo. The Tibetan dream yogas are built on the Bardo, the intermediate states. The Celtic Bardos, which I'm writing about right now because I'm writing about my father when he transitioned with Lewy body dementia. Lewy body dementia is a decline physically that in the body, so that you tend to fall. And you're also falling in consciousness at the time. And so it's kind of a race as to what happens first. You know, do you physically demise from something, or do you lose your mind? And when I was walking with my father, all of the dream work that I've done for 45 years was called upon. And I think back now, and I think, you know, all the people that I taught, all the dreams I interpreted for people on the radio, our podcasts. In fact, I was doing a podcast the other day and I came to an epiphany. It was an amazing point of awareness and enlightenment that I had. Let me tell you the story with my dad. We were sitting, this was before he was diagnosed. So we knew that things were happening, but we didn't know exactly what. And he was sitting on the couch. I was sitting in his favorite chair. And he was in the middle of talking. It was a pleasant afternoon. It was sunny, and we were enjoying ourselves, just being relaxed and calm. And all of a sudden he stopped. He froze. And I've noticed that there's a lot of talk now about people freezing and getting stuck during this period. And you don't want to get stuck. You want to really understand and curate who you are and come out with that wisdom so that you can actually carve what you're going to do when we do start interacting again. And you don't lose this amazing moment of self-awareness, of turning within. You don't want to lose that once you go back into life. And it won't be the same life because you're going to be different. That's why it's going to be different. That day on the couch, my dad froze, like a lot of people do. In other words, this is not an old person's disease. People freeze all the time. They lose track of their thinking, right? Their cognition breaks up. The neuroscience breaks down. The arcing of the electricity in the brain doesn't quite match, or it doesn't make it. This happens. I sat very still and very calm when this happened with my dad, and it took about a minute. I didn't say anything. I waited. And then he kind of looked at me, shook his head just a little, and you could tell in his eyes he came back. He was there again. That light was shining out from his eyes. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know when somebody's home and when they're not, when they're just a body, brain walking around, and when they're actually a mind, soul presence. You know. He did too. And he said, "Why does that happen, Barb?" Now all of a sudden, my dad, who didn't particularly appreciate my chosen occupation through life, my career, now was leaning on me, and I knew it. And I made light of it a little bit. I said, "Yeah, I call it drop calls, Dad." I said, "It happens to me. It happens to everybody." And he heard it, but he wasn't going to be light that day. And he said, "But I don't know where I went." And I said, "I know. It's okay. I'm here." I was telling that story on a podcast the other day, and when I thought about it later, and I even wrote about it some, and I thought, that's the whole story right there. I had figured out through walking with my dad that dementia is caused by a life of unattended dreaming. That's why it can happen at any age. And that therefore the cure, the overnight cure, is to attend your dreams, to tend to them like you would a garden, to pay attention to them, to hold them sacred, to treasure that sleeping time. And I realized during the podcast that that's what everybody's really afraid of, is losing consciousness, losing their mind, being out of touch with reality. This is very frightening for thinking beings, for intelligent people. When you work with your dreams, all the fear dissipates because you become familiar with who you really are. You're not just this body. You're not just Mary or Joe or Nada or Nalina or Zakira. You are much more. Those are temporary. Jung talked about, and Joseph Campbell talked about the masks. The masks are often used, and it's funny that we're wearing them now, right? It's just really, it's funny. Think about that. That we put on masks. The soul puts on a mask. And we can put on a mask to hide, to separate and keep people away. Or we can put on a mask consciously because we have a role to play. So we're awake and aware. And then we can decide we don't want to wear a mask at all. This to me is the value of dream work. This to me is the reality of dream yoga. Because now we have the physical reality, we have virtual reality, and we have the true reality. And to become a master with all of them means always to turn within and master yourself. That's the only thing that any one of us ever have to master. When we can master our own understanding, our own wisdom, and we can be in our core, we can be one, then we can respond to any and every situation. Because we know that we don't have to figure everything out. We can figure out some things, that's the rational mind, the conscious mind and its duty. We also have the subconscious intuitive mind to help us out. And when they work together as creative mind and are in sync, we have the whole universe open to us. We understand the power that breathes us. This is the beauty of dream work. This is the reality of dream work. I have really enjoyed this time, and I hope you have too. You can connect with me at masterliving.org. And as I grow and mature here in that work of Dream Sync and being able to communicate the amazing parts of my journey from being with my father, I say that my dad made of me a shaman because he did. He gave me an opportunity to walk with him the last few years of his life and to sit with him till the 8th day as he left, he dissolved and left his body. And it was truly beautiful. To be able to have no regrets at a time of parting requires your investment. Your greatest investment is in you, in what you know. What you can learn about dreams, about what I've been talking about today, learning that language, you will use the rest of your life. And perhaps like me, you will find that when it comes to sit with someone who you love dearly, who actually gave you life, that you'll be able to be present completely with no concern for yourself, in complete love and compassion. That would be my wish for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for passing on this work. Thank you, Adri, for inviting us to rise and thrive so we can truly know what it means to dream and be alive.